Chapter 17. All the other 19 boys at Pinson got on the bus with their blankets and pillows. Should we get any of this food, Moon? Nah, it'll be too much to carry, and we already have everything we need in the forest. 15 minutes after we pulled away from the boys' home, a sign said we were driving south on Highway 69. Hale sat straight in the driver's seat and squeezed the steering wheel. I stood beside him, looking out the windshield and hoping that I'd see Mr. Abrascado's store. I didn't know the name of the highway that went from Tuscaloosa to Gainesville, and neither did Hal. All I knew was that it was somewhere between us and Livingston. I figured the police would find us if we tried to stay near the shelter, but I wanted to get Pap's rifle and the rest of the bullets before we found a place to live. Kit sat behind me while the other boys jumped on the seats and yelled and fought with their pillows. "Where are we going?" Eddie yelled. "Forest," I said. "What are we gonna do?" "We're gonna go live out there, catch our own food, and stay away from the government." Everyone cheered, and I smiled back at them. "We're gonna make our own clothes out of animal skins and swing on vine swings." Some of the younger boys began to bounce on the bus seats again. "We're not ever gonna go to school, and we can stay up as late as we want. We're gonna shoot guns and make traps and swim in creeks and catch animals for pets. I know how to do it all." "Can we throw away our uniforms?" "You don't have to wear anything. Everybody can be naked if they want." "We'll make Moon president," somebody yelled. I held my hands up in the air. And we'll whip up on anybody that tries to catch us and tell us what to do." All the boys cheered and shook the seats. I was so excited that my hands trembled. Kit was standing on the seat and yelling and jumping along with everyone else. Hale was still quiet with his eyes locked on the road. "You doing okay, Hale?" Hale nodded. "Yeah, but I ain't seen no signs for Gainesville. We're about to come to the some place called Moundville." "I don't want to be president," I said. "You're still president." Hale didn't answer me. He was concentrating too hard on the highway to care what I said. "Can't you get them to shut the heck up and stop rocking the bus?" Hale said. "They're going crazy back there." "Jesus," Hale said. "Johnny, go get 'em to shut up," he yelled back to one of the older boys. "What's after Moundville?" I asked him. "I saw a sign that said Talladega National Forest. I think it's next." "Let's just go there then. That sounds like a good place." "What about the rifle?" "We can make it without a gun for a while. I can rig just about any kind of trap there is. Weapons too." Hale nodded. "Whatever. You better know what you're talking about. I'm sure as heck gonna be pissed about starving out in the forest with a bunch of crybabies." The headlights of an approaching car came into view, and Hale straightened and gripped the wheel tightly. The car whooshed by, and Hale sank back into the seat. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the fastener I'd taken from the ping pong table. "Open that door, Hale. I'm going to make a knife for us." Hale looked over at me and quickly back at the road ahead. "What are you doing now? I can sharpen it on the road." Hale shrugged and pulled on the handle that opened the folding doors. "If you fall out, it's not my fault," he said. I went down the steps and lay on the landing where the road rushed by my face. I looked up and saw Kit watching me nervously. "Gonna need a knife, Kit," I reassured him. It might have been easier taking one from the kitchen," Hale said. "We can make this work. His butt's gonna fall out, Kit." "No, it's not," Kit said. I took the piece of metal and held it to the road. Orange sparks flew as I sharpened the edges and tip. In about 5 minutes, I had a knife that would do to skin an animal. I came back up the steps with a new knife and showed it to Kit. "Here," he said. I said, "You hold on to this. We'll need it later." Kit took the knife like he'd never held one before. He felt the newly sharpened edges and studied it. I turned back to watch the road with Hale. After an hour passed, the bus grew quiet. Some of the boys had gone to sleep in their seats, and others had spread their blanket and pillows on the floor and slept there. I helped Hale watch for signs that told us where Talladega National Forest was. Sometimes I took over at Kit, and he'd straighten up and smile. I'd look over at Kit, and he'd straighten up and smile at me like he wasn't tired. Eventually, we passed a sign that told us we were entering the National Forest area. "Where you want to go from here?" Hale asked. "Anywhere that goes into the forest is fine with me," I said. Before long, we came to a sign for Payne Lake that pointed up a paved road to our left. Hale glanced at me, and I told him to take it. I turned around to announce that we were almost there, but everybody was still asleep. I looked down at Kit, and he was rubbing his eyes. Don't go to sleep, Kit. He sat up in his seat and looked out the window. Headed to a lake, I said. Gonna set up from there. Kit nodded, covered his mouth, and yawned. We drove around a quarter of a mile until we came to a chain across the road. Hanging from the chain was a sign that said, "This road closed after dark." Hale stopped the bus. What now? We'll have to walk the rest of the way. I'm tired, Hale said. You can't be tired. We've got food to trap and a shelter to build. We haven't even found a good place to live yet. I turned to Kit. You're not tired, are you, Kit? Kit shook his head. Kit's not tired. I faced the back of the bus. Hey, everybody, I yelled. We're here. It's all the forest you can get everywhere around us. Come on. Some of the boys moved around on the floor and sat up in their seats. One of the 8-year-olds began to cry. I'm cold, he whimpered. I want to go back, another boy said. I don't want to bust out anymore. Yeah, hell, one of the older boys said. Mr. Carter's going to be all over us for this. But we can live in the forest without the government and get our own food and build our own shelter with nobody to tell us what to do, I said. Another boy began to cry, and someone from the back said he was scared. I held out my hand. I thought everybody wanted to go. Johnny's right, another one of the other boys said. We'll get into too much trouble. I'll whip up on anybody that tries to catch us. Let 'em stay if they want, Hale said. I don't want to listen to 'em. I looked at Hale and then back at the others. All right, anybody that wants to go back can stay here on the bus. The law will probably come for you when it gets daylight in a couple of hours. Anybody that wants to go with me, Kit and Hale can come. But you can't cry. Hale doesn't like crybabies. We've got to get going because we don't have much time. I grabbed my blanket, opened the door to the bus, and walked into the road. When I turned around, Hale and Kit had their blankets and pillows and were following behind me. Better leave those pillows, I said. Just gonna get hung up on briars. What are you gonna use? We can use our jackets or marsh grass. Hale frowned doubtfully and threw his pillow back into the bus. Kit put his back to. Let's go, I said. You sure we're going to find some food before long? Hale asked. I nodded. We've got some hiking to do first, but I'll find something for us right after daylight. I turned to Kit. You okay? Kit nodded. I don't know what's wrong with everybody, I said. I thought they were ready to go with us. I sure don't have anything to lose, Hale said. They're going to send me to Helen Weller soon anyway. Helen Weller is not good, Kit said. They'll tell stories about that place. Well, y'all don't have to worry about Helen Weller or Pinson or any of those places anymore. Come on. Chapter 18. The waking birds told me that daylight was less than an hour away. Hale and Kit fell behind as I made my way up a small hill that was matted in pine needles. The smell of sap and rotten logs came to my nose like warm soup in the chilly air, and I wanted to lie down and sleep and breathe it. But I knew that getting some distance between us and the bus was the most important thing. Afterwards, I could figure out how to get food. At the top of the hill, I came to a rusted fire tower. I waited until Hale and Kit came tromping up the hill, and then I told them my plan. Hale, you think you can get up that tower? Hale sat down and shrugged his shoulders. Then you climb it while Kit and I go find some food. You can keep watch. I bet you can see the bus from up there. But we won't be able to stay here for long because we've still got to make some more distance. Hill yawned. Let's get some sleep first. We can't sleep yet. We'll have plenty of time to sleep later. Law's going to be after us soon, and we've got to keep going. Hale stood up slowly. All right, he said. He turned and stared up at the tower. You crazy? You can do it. Hale moaned and spit. We'll be back after a while, I said. Kit and I continued down the other side of the hill, and we heard Hale hanging around on the fire tower behind us. We hadn't gone far when the forest opened up into a hardwood bottom. A short distance beyond that, we found a patch of foggy swamp with cattails. I took the knife from Kit, stripped it to my underwear, and waded into the icy water. Kit watched me while I cut and gathered cattail roots. After about 30 minutes, I had enough for breakfast. The sun was just showing through the trees, and I zipped back into my uniform and we set out for the fire tower again. When we stood behind it, I yelled up at Hale. What do you see up there, Hale? There was no answer. Hale! After a second, I saw his face peer down at me. Can you see the bus? What's everybody doing? I asked him. Hale rubbed his eyes and looked out towards the bus and then back at me. Just sitting around. I started up the tower ladder. As I moved upwards, the forest spread out below me with patches of chilled fog still caught between the small hills. The sun felt good on my back, and the fresh air slipped through my teeth. In a few minutes, I crawled into the tower box with Hale. I could see some of the boys playing in the road and others lying in the grass at the edge of the ditch. Have you seen the law yet? Hale shook his head. You've been napping, haven't you? Maybe. What the heck? That's all right. We got some food. Hale's eyes grew wide. What you got? Cattails. What's that? Come on down and try some. You like 'em. Taste like potatoes. The three of us sat around the base of the tower and ate the cattail roots as the sun burned out the fog. Hale and Kit agreed the plant tasted better than they thought it would, although not as good as the Pinson breakfast. But there's no school today, I reminded them. I figure we'll stay and watch that bus for a while. You two can nap while I go back up and keep a lookout. Once I see the law, we can get moving again. That way, you two will be rested and can keep up with me. What are we going to eat for lunch? Hale asked me. We'll take some of these roots with us, and I reckon I can find some yucca plants in the high ground. Maybe some thistle and acorns. What about meat? Hale asked. We don't have time for meat yet. Once we make camp, we can get some meat. It's going to be tough going on you two for a while. Hale sat up. I'm okay, he said, as long as you can get us something to eat. Yeah, Kit said, we're fine. All right, then. Y'all take a nap, and I'll keep an eye out for the law.